Hello, welcome to our Sunday service for April 18th of 2021. We'll begin our service with the ringing of kansho, followed by Reverend Mukojima leading chanting of Junirai. Then the temple's Young Adult Buddhist Association will lead us in the Eightfold Path. Then we'll have a Dharma message from Minister's Assistant Devon Matsumoto, and then we will close our service. Thank you for joining us today.
The Buddha Dharma is the realization within one's deepest consciousness of the oneness of all life. For the attainment of this purpose, the Buddha left us to follow the Eightfold Path, which is the way of prime importance.
Right view.
To keep ourselves free from prejudice, superstition, and delusion, and to see the true nature of life as it is.
Right thoughts.
To turn away from the evils of the world and direct our minds toward purity.
Right speech.
To refrain from pointless and harmful talk, and to speak kindly and courteously to all.
Right conduct.
To see that our deeds are peaceful, benevolent, compassionate, and pure. To live the teachings daily.
Right livelihood.
To earn our living in such a way as to entail no evil consequences.
Right effort.
To direct our efforts incessantly to the overcoming of ignorance and craving desires.
Right mindfulness.
To cherish good and pure thoughts, for all that we say and do arise from our thoughts.
Right meditation.
To concentrate our will on the Buddha, his life, and his teachings.
May the presence of the Buddha, who said that he would abide in the Dharma, be our guide. May we with earnestness, gratitude, and unfaltering steps tread upon this noble Eightfold Path until we too shall attain enlightenment.
Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo
Namo
Amida
Amida
Butsu.
Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo
Namo
Amida
Amida
Butsu.
Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo
Namo
Amida
Amida
Butsu.
Butsu.
Namandas.
Namandas. Namandas. Namandas.
Please join me in Gassho. We should not express outwardly signs of wisdom, goodness, or diligence, for inwardly we are possessed of falsity. We are filled with all manner of greed, anger, perversity, deceit, wickedness, and cunning. And it is difficult to put an end to our evil nature. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing okay and hanging in there despite all of the troubles going on in the world. It is a tough time for many of us, and as we get closer to the end of this pandemic, I get more and more eager to see everyone in person. As the end of the school year is approaching for many of our Dharma School and YBA students, they're all probably stressing out about finals or end of the year projects, assignments, and essays, or beginning to think about what to do after high school. Whether that be go to college, get a job, or go to a trade school. On top of that, we have the chaos of this pandemic, and every day we get news of another injustice occurring to people of marginalized communities. To be a student during this time must be so difficult, and I want to acknowledge all of you for persevering. With that, I wanted to ask everyone a question. When you hear the word perfect or perfection, what comes to mind? What do you imagine as being perfect? As young folks, I think we are often expected to be perfect without really knowing what being perfect actually means. We set high standards for ourselves or have high standards set for us. We work so hard to please our parents, our guardians, our families, our community, and friends, which can cause us, so much stress, anxiety, and mental health issues. We strive for perfection and put ourselves through this pain. But what is perfection? I ask this because I don't have an answer to that question, but it is something that I have always wanted to know. I do, however, know what is not perfect, or I should say, who is not perfect. I am not perfect. When I was growing up and would hear people say, oh, I'm not perfect, right? I would always think that they were just saying it to appear more humble or to make themselves look better. Because as a kid, and even now sometimes, I always like to joke about how cool or awesome or good looking I think I am. Because, honestly, I am, right? No, I'm just kidding. But who goes around, saying that they aren't perfect, right? That wasn't something my friends and I did growing up, and neither did the people around us, especially here in the Bay Area, where it is a very toxic and competitive environment to grow up in because of the very high overemphasis on education. We never want to admit our faults because it would mean someone else had the edge on us, and thus meant we aren't as perfect as we thought we were. But I think, now I'm a little bit old enough now, and it's far enough in the past for me to say what I'm about to say without getting in trouble or too big of trouble, at least for my parents. But I wasn't a very good student growing up. Last week, I had the opportunity to reflect on this when I was eating lunch with my grandma, and she brought up a lot of funny stories from my childhood that could have gotten me into a big trouble had my parents found out. But she never told on me because, she's a real one. Those aren't the stories I'm going to tell you today, but I am going to tell you a few things that I told her that I used to do back in high school and middle school and elementary school. So in elementary school, I was getting into fights with other kids at school. In middle school, I had hardly ever paid attention in class and would get sent outside a lot, more than I care to admit, because I was disrupting class. And in high school, I was forced to take summer school because I was behind in math class. I would talk back to some teachers, but to this day, I think I'm still justified. I got into a few verbal altercations with some classmates. I would sleep through classes, and I cheated in almost every class I was in. I remember asking Kevin Furumasu to copy off of his homework more than once, say. Or I would get to school early to see if any of my friends were there and ask them for their homework to copy. Outside of school, I fooled around a lot, especially in YBA and Dharma school. I fell asleep during Sensei's Dharma talks and even in Dharma school classes. I think most of my Dharma school teachers would probably be able to back this up. I also had a 1 a.m. curfew on the weekends, but sometimes I wouldn't come home till 5 or 6 in the morning, and my friends and I would drive up to SF without telling our parents. I would always get texts from my mom saying, where are you? But I'll just pretend not to see the text, or pretend that I didn't have my phone on me. But yeah, so those are a lot of the things I did growing up. I bet a lot of you didn't know that about me. So why am I telling you about how bad I was as a child? And it's not that far ago, so how bad I was as a teenager. And I bet a lot of the parents are probably thinking I'm a bad influence now, but I guess that's okay, it can't be helped. The quote I opened my Dharma talk with is from Shantao, and is a very important teaching in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. For those of you who are unaware, Shantao is one of the 7 masters of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. If you're looking at the Naijin, Shantao is on the left side, where you see the scroll of 7 figures on there. I'll read it again now, just in case you forgot or fell asleep like I used to do. So the quote is, "We should not express outwardly signs of wisdom, goodness, or diligence, for inwardly we are possessed of falsity. We are filled with all manner of greed, anger, perversity, deceit, wickedness, and cunning. And it is difficult to put an end to our evil nature." And even though I outwardly joke and say, I'm super cool and hip, usually followed up with no cap, as the kids say, the Buddha's teachings allow me to reflect on my imperfect self. Deep down, I know I'm not a very good person or a great role model, but it's with the Buddhist teachings that I am able to try and be a better person. Jodo Shinshu teaches us that we will never be perfect, and that we shouldn't even try to be perfect, because we are only human. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to be better people or help make the world a better place. And I'm definitely not telling you all to go and cheat now or do what I did back in the day. What I am trying to say is that it is okay for us to be imperfect. It is okay for us to relax. It is okay for us to fail a test. It is okay for us not to get into our dream college. And it's okay for us to mess up. But we should always try to do our best. Shinran knew how imperfect he was and his own foolish nature, but he still did his best to share Honen's Nembutsu teachings. Doing our best with our imperfections is part of being human and is part of our life journey. Understanding this has helped me in my own life. As many of you know, I am involved in a few social justice organizations. It can be very easy at times for me to point the finger and say, you're wrong, or you're a bad person, or you just don't get it, without even thinking and reflecting on how I, myself, am not perfect either. When I shared this quote with Sensei last week, he said something along the lines of, "We can't move forward without looking inward first." This is still something that I have trouble doing, but the conversation I had with my grandma about all the bad things I did as a kid really helped me ground myself in our Buddhist teachings of imperfection. What this meant to me, as someone who tries to be a social justice minded, is that I should always reflect on how I have the potential to discriminate against other people or harbor racist, ableist, sexist thoughts. This helps me to try and do my best in the work that I do as a social justice worker and cultural worker. To me, we are all imperfect, and realizing that is how we move forward and understand the world. So in closing, please join me in Gassho. We should not express outwardly signs of wisdom, goodness, or diligence, for inwardly we are possessed of falsity. We are filled with all manner of greed, anger, perversity, deceit, wickedness, and cunning, and it is difficult to put an end to our evil nature. Namo Amidabs, Namo Amidabs, Namo Amidabs, Namandabs, 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 Namandabs.
Thank you, Devon, for your Dharma message today. I think one of the things that I've always recognized about you is you actually have always had an honesty about yourself. And, kind of the bravado of youth, I always accepted as just bravado of youth. But your message today is really indicative of the true self that you have. And maybe I'm lucky. You never fell asleep in my classes. So. Not that I remember anyway. So I'd also like to thank Reverend Mukojima for preparing the videos for kansho and sutra chanting, and to the YABA group for their video preparation of the Eightfold Path. Thank you again. I'd like everyone to please stay healthy, stay safe, and get jabbed as soon as you can. Thank you.